I'm standing in the lobby of Trent Technologies at 3 in the morning, and my key card won't work. The screen flashes red. Access denied. I try again. Same result. My phone died somewhere between the emergency call from Singapore and the airport gate, so I can't even message security. Through the glass doors, I see my desk. My coffee mug. The framed photo of my mother. Everything I built over 6 years, suddenly locked away like I'm a stranger. A black sedan pulls up behind me. The window descends. Zia Madocks? The voice is smooth, controlled. Get in. I should walk away. I should find a hotel, charge my phone, figure this out in daylight. But I have $17 in my wallet and my credit cards were in my office drawer because I was only supposed to be gone for a client dinner. The betrayal is still sharp in my chest. 4 hours ago, I was presenting strategy to our largest account in a private dining room. Then my director, Simon Parrish, sent a message to the client's CEO through back channels. She connects better than you. He actually wrote that. The clients forwarded it to me with an apology and a warning. I get in the car. The woman in the back seat is maybe 45, wearing a charcoal suit that probably costs more than my monthly rent. Her hair is pulled back severely. She doesn't offer her hand. Catalina Reeves, she says. I run the Western Division for Convergent Global. You've been handling the Davenport portfolio, correct? I was handling it until tonight. I know what happened. She slides a phone across the seat. It's already open to an email chain. I scan the messages. Simon claiming I've been erratic, unreliable, letting personal issues affect my judgment. He's attached screenshots of texts I sent during my mother's illness last year. Medical appointment reminders. A message to HR about bereavement leave. He's framed it as evidence of instability. Why are you showing me this? Because Simon Parrish is making a play for your entire division, Catalina says. He's been building a case that you're incompetent so he can consolidate the Davenport account under his control. Then he'll leverage that to push out your VP, claim he deserves the promotion. What he doesn't know is that I've been watching. Davenport is about to sign a partnership agreement with us. If your division looks unstable, that deal dies. I lose $8 million in projected revenue. The car is moving now, gliding through empty streets. City lights blur past. What do you want from me? I want you to work for me directly. 48 hours, contract basis. You help me stabilize the Davenport relationship and prove Simon's claims are fiction. In exchange, I'll provide legal support, documentation of his interference, and a position in my division if you want it. That sounds too convenient. It's not convenient. It's strategic. Catalina's expression doesn't shift. I have a board presentation in 2 days. My opponents inside Convergent are using the trade instability as evidence that I can't manage partnerships. If I can't deliver Davenport, they'll push me out and install someone more compliant. I need you functional and credible, immediately. Why not just work with Simon? Because Davenport's CEO specifically requested you return to the account. They sent the request an hour ago. Simon is currently pretending he can't reach you, claiming you've gone dark. That won't hold much longer. I look out the window. We're heading toward the financial district. Glass towers reflect the pre-dawn darkness. What exactly would I be doing? Tonight, you sleep in a secure location. Tomorrow, we meet with my legal team to document everything Simon has done. Then you attend the Davenport strategy session and demonstrate exactly why they requested you back. After that, we formalize a longer-term arrangement if you're interested. And if I say no? Then you figure out how to fight Simon alone, with no building access, no support system, and no evidence that his claims are false. He's already seeded the narrative with HR. By Monday, you'll be on administrative leave while they investigate his allegations. My hands are shaking. I press them flat against my thighs. I'll do it. Catalina nods once. Smart. The apartment Catalina takes me to is in a high-rise I've walked past 100 times but never entered. The lobby has marble floors and a doorman who nods at Catalina like she owns the building. Maybe she does. We take an elevator to the 23rd floor. The apartment is cold, modern, almost aggressively neutral. White walls, black furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. Guest room is on the left, Catalina says. There are clothes in the closet that should fit. Bathroom is stocked. I'll be back at 7 with breakfast and my attorney. She leaves before I can ask questions. The door clicks shut, and I'm alone. I stand in the center of the living room for a long moment, trying to process the past 6 hours. This morning, I woke up in my own bed. I packed for what I thought was a routine client dinner. I had a career I'd spent years building. Now I'm in a stranger's apartment, locked out of my own office, with my professional reputation being systematically dismantled by someone I trusted. The guest room is as impersonal as the rest of the space. I open the closet and find several outfits in my size, all professional, all expensive. This level of preparation unsettles me. Catalina knew this would happen before I did. I shower because I can't think of what else to do. The hot water helps. I try to inventory what I actually know versus what I'm assuming. Facts: Simon sent messages undermining me to clients. He compiled evidence to make me look unstable. He's blocked my building access. Davenport specifically asked for me to return. Catalina has her own vulnerabilities inside Convergent and needs this partnership to succeed. What I don't know: why Simon targeted me specifically, what his full plan involves, how many other people at Trent are part of this, whether Catalina is genuinely offering help or just using me as a chess piece in her own game. I dry off and put on one of the provided outfits. Charcoal slacks, ivory blouse, fitted blazer. It's perfect. That bothers me more than it should. Sleep doesn't come. I lie in the unfamiliar bed and stare at the ceiling, replaying every interaction with Simon over the past 6 months. Looking for the moment this started. Was it when I corrected his analysis in front of the senior partners? When I took lead on the Davenport expansion without asking permission? When I refused to pad my timesheets the way he suggested? My phone is charging on the nightstand. Catalina must have plugged it in. When I turn it on, I have 43 messages. Most are from colleagues asking if I'm okay. 3 are from Simon, each one more aggressively concerned than the last. Where are you? The clients are asking questions. This is extremely unprofessional. I delete them without responding. There's one message from someone I don't recognize. A number I don't have saved. It was sent an hour ago. This is Margot Jo from Davenport. We need you on this account. Simon doesn't understand our market structure. Please contact me directly. I screenshot it and set the phone aside. At 7 exactly, the door opens. Catalina enters with a leather portfolio and a tall woman in a navy suit. This is Iris Callahan, Catalina says. She specializes in employment law and corporate interference cases. She's going to walk you through what Simon's doing legally and what your options are. Iris sets up a laptop on the dining table. I join them with coffee that appeared from somewhere, probably delivered while I was still trying to sleep. Let's start with what we know, Iris says. Her voice is crisp, matter of fact. Simon Parrish has been building a case that you're emotionally unstable and professionally unreliable. He's using a combination of legitimate personal information taken out of context and fabricated claims about missed deadlines and client complaints. His goal appears to be removing you from key accounts so he can consolidate control and position himself for your VP's role when she retires in 6 months. Can he actually do that? If he's careful, yes. Employment law gives employers wide latitude to reassign staff based on performance concerns. What makes this actionable is that he's using protected information, your bereavement leave and medical situation, as evidence of incompetence. That's illegal. Also, the fact that he's actively interfering with client relationships you built is tortious interference. Iris opens a file and turns the screen toward me. It's an organizational chart of Trent Technologies. Simon reports to your VP, Diane Kowalski. Diane is 62 and planning to retire. There are 3 internal candidates for her position: Simon, you, and someone named Terrence Wu from the analytics division. Simon has been systematically undermining both you and Terrence. He started with Terrence 6 months ago, got him moved to a lower-profile project. Now he's working on you. How do you know all this? Because I've been retained by someone else at Trent who noticed the pattern, Iris says. I can't disclose who. But they've been documenting Simon's behavior and collecting evidence. When Catalina contacted me last night about your situation, I realized you were his next target. Catalina leans forward. Here's what we're going to do today. First, you're going to review all the documentation Iris has compiled. Second, you're going to prepare a briefing document for Davenport that demonstrates your strategic understanding of their account. Third, you're going to meet with Margot Zhou and re-establish yourself as the primary contact. Fourth, we're going to submit a formal complaint to Trent's legal department with all the evidence of Simon's interference. That will destroy my career at Trent. Your career at Trent is already being destroyed, Catalina says flatly. The question is whether you want to go down quietly while Simon takes credit for your work, or whether you want to fight back with evidence and legal support. I drink my coffee. It's good, much better than the office swill I'm used to. Show me the evidence. We spend the next 3 hours going through documents. Iris has screenshots of emails where Simon claimed credit for my work. Calendar invitations where he scheduled meetings with my clients without informing me. A memo he sent to HR suggesting I be placed on a performance improvement plan due to reliability concerns. Most damning is a message chain where he discusses strategy with someone named Christopher Hale from the analytics division. They're coordinating to make both me and Terrence Wu look incompetent so Simon can position himself as the only viable candidate for VP. Who's Christopher Hale? Terrence Wu's supervisor, Iris says. He wants Terrence's senior analyst role. They're working together. The conspiracy is wider than I thought. Not just Simon's ambition, but multiple people coordinating to eliminate obstacles. I feel sick. Why didn't anyone tell me this was happening? Because corporate environments reward subtlety, Catalina says. Simon's smart enough to frame everything as legitimate management decisions. Reassigning accounts, raising performance concerns, suggesting process improvements. He's not screaming or threatening. He's just slowly building a narrative that you're not up to the job. By the time you notice, the narrative is already established. What's your role in this? I look directly at Catalina. You said you have opponents inside Convergent. How does helping me benefit you? Direct question. Good. Catalina closes her laptop. I'm the only woman running a division at Convergent. I got here by delivering results and building partnerships that my competitors couldn't. The Davenport deal is worth $8 million in the first year, but it's also symbolic. If I can't manage a partnership with a mid-sized firm like Trent, my opponents will argue I can't handle larger strategic relationships. They'll use it as evidence that I'm not ready for an executive committee position. So I'm a prop in your internal politics. No. You're a professional who's being sabotaged, and our interests happen to align. I need the Davenport deal to succeed. That requires you to be functional and credible. In exchange, I'm providing resources you wouldn't have access to otherwise. Legal representation, documented evidence, a clean exit from Trent if you want it, and a position in my division with better compensation and more authority. That's not using you. That's a mutually beneficial arrangement. I appreciate the honesty. It's transactional, but at least it's transparent. What happens at this Davenport meeting? Margot Zhou requested an emergency strategy session for this afternoon. She wants to review the Q4 expansion plan. Simon told her you were unavailable due to personal issues. You're going to show up, demonstrate complete command of the account details, and prove that his claims about your instability are false. Margot will report back to her CEO. That documentation becomes part of our evidence. And if I can't perform? If I'm too rattled or Simon's done more damage than we know? Then we adjust strategy, Catalina says. But I've reviewed your work product. I've seen how you manage the Davenport account through 3 quarterly expansions. You know this material better than anyone, including Simon. The question isn't whether you're competent. The question is whether you're willing to show it under pressure. Fair point. I spend the rest of the morning preparing. Iris provides me with a clean laptop and access to secure file storage where copies of all my work product have been backed up. Apparently, the unnamed person at Trent who's been documenting Simon's behavior also had the foresight to preserve my files before he could delete or alter them. I review the Davenport account history, refresh myself on their market position, check recent industry developments that might affect their strategy. By noon, I'm ready. Catalina drives me to a corporate office building downtown where Convergent leases conference space. Margot Zhou is already waiting in a glass-walled room overlooking the financial district. She stands when I enter. Zia. Thank you for coming. Of course. I apologize for the confusion this morning. Not your fault. Margot's expression is tight. Simon called me personally to explain that you were dealing with a family emergency and wouldn't be available for several weeks. When I asked for details, he became evasive. Then I received a message from your colleague Terence Wu suggesting I speak with you directly because Simon's representation of the situation wasn't accurate. So here we are. Interesting. Terence is still at Tret and apparently fighting back against his own sabotage by helping me. We might be natural allies. I open my laptop and pull up the Q4 expansion plan. Let's start with your immediate concerns. What specific questions do you have about the timeline? We work for 90 minutes straight. Margot challenges every assumption, stress tests every projection, asks detailed questions about resource allocation and risk management. I answer each one with specific data and clear reasoning. This is what I'm good at. Taking complex strategic problems and breaking them into manageable components. Identifying risks before they become crises. Building relationships based on competence rather than charm. By the time we finish, Margot is satisfied. This is exactly what I needed, she says. Simon's version of this plan was vague and over-optimistic. Yours accounts for actual market conditions and resource constraints. I'm going to recommend to our CEO that you remain as primary contact for this account going forward. I appreciate that. I should mention that there may be some internal resistance at Tret. I assumed as much. Margot closes her own laptop. Which is why I'm going to be very explicit in my communication with your leadership about why we're requesting this arrangement. If they want to maintain our partnership, they'll accommodate it. After Margot leaves, Catalina reappears. Well done. She's already sent a message to Diane Kowalski praising your work and expressing concern about Simon's communication style. That's going to be hard for him to spin. What's next? Now we formalize the legal complaint. Iris has prepared a document outlining Simon's interference, the use of protected information, and the pattern of behavior toward multiple employees. We're filing it with Tret's legal department and HR simultaneously. They'll be required to investigate. Simon will know it came from me. Yes. Which is why you're not going back to Tret's office. You'll work remotely for the next week while the investigation proceeds. I'm putting you on contract with Convergent, officially as a consultant on the Davenport integration. That gives you legitimate employment and income while this resolves. We go back to Catalina's office, a corner suite with views of the harbor. Iris is waiting with documents already prepared. I read through the formal complaint. It's precise, devastating, and completely accurate. Every claim is supported by documentation. Screenshots of emails. Calendar records. Witness statements from people I don't know, probably including Terence and whoever else has been documenting Simon's behavior. I sign it. Iris sends it electronically to Tret's legal counsel and HR director at exactly 4:30 in the afternoon, late enough that responses will be delayed until tomorrow but early enough that people will see it before leaving for the day. Now what? I ask. Now we wait, Catalina says. And we prepare for the next phase. Which is? Simon's going to push back hard. He'll claim you're retaliating because he gave you legitimate performance feedback. He'll try to discredit you by emphasizing your personal situation last year. He'll attempt to frame this as an emotionally unstable employee lashing out at a manager who was trying to help. We need to be ready with counter-evidence. What kind of counter-evidence? Public demonstration of your competence and stability. Next week, Convergent is hosting a partnership summit. 50 companies, 300 attendees, significant media coverage. I want you there as my guest, introduced as the strategic lead on the Davenport integration. You'll present a case study on partnership architecture. It's high profile, high pressure, and impossible to fake. If you perform well, it becomes evidence that Simon's claims were always false. That's a lot of exposure. Yes. Which is why I'm asking rather than telling. If you're not ready, we find another approach. But if you are ready, it's the fastest way to rebuild your professional reputation. I think about it. A week ago, I would have been terrified of that kind of visibility. But a week ago, I also thought my job was secure and my director was trustworthy. Things change. I'll do it. Excellent. We'll spend the next few days preparing. You'll work with my team on the presentation. We'll also continue gathering evidence for the legal case and monitoring Trent's investigation. Catalina dismisses me shortly after. A car takes me back to the high-rise apartment. I order food, charge my phone, and finally allow myself to feel the exhaustion. But underneath the tiredness, there's something else. A kind of cold clarity I haven't experienced before. For years, I've operated under the assumption that if I worked hard and delivered results, I'd be protected. That competence would shield me from office politics and personal attacks. I was wrong. Competence made me a target because it threatened people who wanted what I had. The next morning, I wake up to 17 missed calls from Simon. He's also sent a string of messages ranging from concerned to angry to threatening. I'm worried about you. Where are you staying? This behavior is extremely unprofessional. If you don't respond by noon, I'll have no choice but to escalate to HR. I forward all of them to Iris without responding. At 9, I receive a call from Diane Kowalski, my VP. I let it go to voicemail. She leaves a message asking me to contact her as soon as possible to discuss the situation with Simon. Her tone is neutral, careful. She's been briefed on the legal complaint. I call Iris instead. They're moving faster than I expected, Iris says. Trent's legal counsel contacted me an hour ago requesting a meeting to discuss your allegations. They're taking this seriously because Margot Jo's message made it clear that their client relationship is at stake. Do you want to attend this meeting? Yes. Good. It's scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. In the meantime, I recommend you continue working with Catalina's team and avoid direct contact with anyone from Trent except through me. I spend the day at Convergence offices, working with Catalina's strategy team on the Partnership Summit presentation. They're sharp, efficient, and remarkably welcoming. No one treats me like a refugee from a corporate disaster. They treat me like a colleague with valuable expertise. The presentation takes shape quickly. We're framing the Davenport integration as a model for how larger firms can partner with specialized consultancies without losing strategic control. I'll walk through the initial relationship building, the expansion challenges, the structural agreements we developed, and the projected outcomes. It's straightforward, fact-based, and showcases exactly the kind of strategic thinking that Simon claimed I couldn't manage. By evening, I have a solid draft. Catalina reviews it and suggests minor adjustments to emphasize risk management, which is apparently a hot topic among the summit attendees. This is good work, she says. Better than most of the presentations I've seen from senior consultants. You're underselling yourself. I'm just doing what I always do. Exactly. Which is why Simon's claims were always absurd to anyone who actually reviewed your output. The problem is that most people don't review output. They respond to narratives. Simon's narrative was that you were unreliable. We're building a counter-narrative based on documented performance. The meeting with Trent's legal counsel happens in a neutral conference room at a law firm downtown. Iris, Catalina, and I sit on one side of a large mahogany table. Across from us are two attorneys representing Trent, Diane Kowalski, and someone from HR whose name I don't catch. The lead attorney opens by acknowledging the seriousness of my allegations. We've begun a preliminary investigation, he says. We've reviewed the documentation your counsel provided. We've also interviewed several employees mentioned in your complaint. What we're trying to determine is whether this represents a pattern of prohibited behavior or a legitimate management disagreement that's been escalated unnecessarily. Iris responds before I can. The documentation speaks for itself. Simon Parrish used protected medical information to build a false narrative about my client's competence. He interfered with client relationships she established and maintained successfully for 3 years. He coordinated with another manager to systematically undermine multiple employees who represented competition for a promotion he wanted. This isn't a management disagreement. This is targeted sabotage. Diane Kowalski speaks up. Zia, I want to hear from you directly. What do you believe happened here? I meet her eyes. Simon decided I was an obstacle to his career advancement. He couldn't attack my work product because it's strong, so he attacked my character instead. He used the hardest period of my life, when my mother was dying, as evidence that I'm emotionally unstable. He told clients I was unreliable. He blocked my building access. He tried to have me placed on administrative leave. All of this happened because I was good at my job and he wanted the credit. That's a serious allegation. It's supported by serious evidence. The meeting continues for another hour. Trent's attorneys ask detailed questions about specific incidents. Iris provides documentation for each one. By the end, it's clear that Trent has a significant legal problem. They can't ignore the evidence, and they can't afford to lose the Davenport relationship. The lead attorney proposes a resolution. We're prepared to offer you a leave of absence with full pay while we complete the investigation. Simon Parrish will be temporarily reassigned away from your accounts. If the investigation confirms your allegations, appropriate disciplinary action will be taken. That's not sufficient, Ira says. My client needs assurance that she won't face retaliation when she returns. She also needs confirmation that her building access will be restored and her professional reputation will be formally cleared. We can provide those assurances. In writing. Today. They negotiate for another 30 minutes. Eventually, we reach an agreement. I'll take a 2-week paid leave while Trent investigates. Simon will be reassigned to administrative projects with no client contact. If the investigation substantiates my claims, he'll be terminated and I'll receive a formal apology from executive leadership. My building access will be restored immediately. A neutral message will be sent to all clients explaining that I'm on temporary leave for strategic planning purposes, with no mention of performance issues or personal problems. It's not perfect, but it's something. After they leave, Catalina turns to me. You're still planning to present at the summit, correct? Yes. Good. Because regardless of what Trent does, I want you in my division. The contract position was always temporary. I'm offering you a permanent role as a senior strategist reporting directly to me. 20% higher salary than Trent was paying you, better benefits, and direct authority over client relationships. You'd start after your leave period ends. I don't answer immediately. Part of me wants to go back to Trent and prove that I won. That Simon failed and I survived. But another part recognizes that Catalina's offer represents something better than survival. It represents advancement. Can I think about it? Of course. You have until after the summit. See how you feel about working with my team. If it's a good fit, we move forward. If not, you go back to Trent with your reputation intact and leverage this entire situation into a promotion. The partnership summit is held at a downtown convention center. 300 people in business attire filling an auditorium. I'm scheduled to present on the second day, mid-afternoon slot. Catalina introduces me with a brief bio that emphasizes my track record with complex client relationships. I step up to the podium and begin. The presentation goes smoothly. I walk through the Davenport case study, explain the structural challenges we faced, describe the solutions we developed. I field questions from the audience with confidence. Someone asks about risk management protocols. Another person wants details on dispute resolution mechanisms. I answer each question with specific examples and clear reasoning. 30 minutes later, I'm done. The audience applauds. Several people approach me afterward to ask follow-up questions or exchange contact information. Catalina finds me in the networking area after my session. You were excellent, she says. I've already had 3 companies ask if you're available for consulting work on their own partnership structures. That was faster than expected. Good work gets noticed. Especially when it's delivered under pressure. She pauses. Have you made a decision about my offer? I have. Somewhere between the legal meeting and this presentation, I realized that going back to Trent would mean operating under Diane Kowalski's authority and working alongside people who watched Simon sabotage me without intervening. Even if he's terminated, the culture that enabled his behavior remains. I'll take the position, I say. But I want a formal contract that specifies my authority, my reporting structure, and protections against the kind of interference I experienced at Trent. Done. Iris will draft something by end of week. We shake hands. 2 weeks later, I return to Trent to collect my personal belongings. The investigation concluded that Simon violated multiple company policies. He was terminated. Christopher Hale received a formal warning. Terrence Wu was moved back to his original position with an apology from leadership. Diane Kowalski meets me in her office before I leave. I'm sorry this happened, she says. I should have noticed the pattern earlier. Yes, you should have. For what it's worth, I recommended you for the VP position. Before all of this started. Simon was never actually in the running. He just convinced himself he was. That's almost funny. All of this damage, all of this chaos, because Simon created a competition that didn't exist. I'm not interested in the VP role anymore, I tell her. I've accepted a position with Convergent. I understand. I hope it works out well for you. I pack my desk, say goodbye to the few colleagues I actually trust, and leave Trent Technologies for the last time. 3 months into my role at Convergent, I'm managing 4 major client relationships and leading a team of 6 strategists. Catalina promoted me to director level after I successfully negotiated a partnership agreement that everyone else said was impossible. The Davenport account continues to grow. Margot Jo recommended me to 2 other companies in her network. I don't think about Simon often anymore. When I do, it's with detachment rather than anger. He tried to destroy my career to advance his own, and instead he destroyed himself. That's not poetic justice. That's just consequence. What I think about more is the moment in Catalina's car when she offered me a choice. I could fight alone or accept help with strings attached. I chose the strings. That decision changed everything. People sometimes ask me what I learned from the experience. They want insights about resilience or redemption or turning adversity into opportunity. What I actually learned is simpler and darker. Systems don't protect you. People don't protect you. Documentation protects you. Evidence protects you. Strategic alliances with people whose interests align with yours protect you. I learned to stop expecting fairness and start building leverage. I learned that competence isn't enough. You also need power. I learned that the person who controls the narrative controls your reputation, so you'd better control your own narrative first. I sit in my corner office at Convergent, reviewing proposals from 3 companies that want to establish partnerships. My team is in the conference room, preparing presentations. Catalina just sent me an email about a board position that's opening up, asking if I'm interested in being nominated. I think about who I was 6 months ago. Someone who believed that working hard and delivering results would be sufficient. Someone who trusted institutional structures to reward merit. Someone who thought staying quiet and stepping aside would keep me safe. That person is gone. This version of me understands that safety comes from strength, that trust is conditional, that every professional relationship is transactional whether we admit it or not. Simon taught me that. Not intentionally, but effectively. I open my laptop and start drafting my response to Catalina about the board position. The answer is yes. It's always yes now. Every opportunity, every challenge, every chance to build more authority and more protection. Because I understand now what I didn't before. The system doesn't save you from people like Simon. You save yourself by becoming someone they can't touch. Someone with evidence, leverage, allies, and enough power that attempting to undermine you becomes too costly to attempt. I became that person. And I'm not going back.